If you had to choose between cinema's deadliest killers, who would you rather face? Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees? Think carefully, because this choice might be your last. As a horror fan who's seen every movie in the franchise, I can assure you, Jason is relentless. He survived gunshots, stabbings, explosions, and even space travel. But today I'll show you exactly how long you'd survive against him, and which strategies might buy you a few extra minutes of life. And trust me, you'll need every second. Get ready to discover if T here has any real chance of surviving Crystal Lake's most persistent killer. And heads up, strategy number 5 will surprise you. Jason isn't just another horror movie killer. He's a supernatural force born from tragedy. Imagine a deformed child ridiculed by everyone, who drowned while camp counselors were too busy to notice him. A vengeful mother's grief transformed this tragedy into something far worse. But what makes Jason truly terrifying? Superhuman strength that can tear through walls like paper. Resilience that makes bullets feel like mosquito bites. And a persistence that would make the Terminator look lazy. T here is more. Jason has a sixth sense for finding his victims. No matter where you hide, he always knows. Always. And unlike other killers, Jason doesn't play with his food. He's efficient, fast, and absolutely lethal. Soon, you'll discover why even Crystal Lake's most experienced survivors tremble at the mere sound of his footsteps. Before revealing the strategies, you need to understand the battlefield. Crystal Lake isn't just an abandoned camp, it's Jason's perfect hunting ground. Every shadow, every tree, every cabin works against you. And here is the first fatal mistake everyone makes, thinking they're safe somewhere. You are not. That cozy cabin, death trap. The calm lake, his territory. The dense forest, well, you get the picture. Classic mistakes that will get you killed in seconds. Panicking and running aimlessly. Hiding in obvious places. Trying to fight alone. Going back for something. Splitting up from the group. But T here is a chance. Tiny, microscopic, but it exists. And that's where our survival strategies come in. In the next few minutes, I'll show you how some survivors gained precious minutes against Jason. And pay close attention to strategy number 3, because it reveals something few noticed in the movies. What I am about to show you isn't a survival guarantee, but it might be the difference between becoming history in 30 seconds or gaining enough time to maybe, just maybe, see the sunrise. The 5 survival strategies. The time has come to reveal the only strategies that have ever worked against Jason. And when I say worked, I mean earned a few extra minutes of life. Strategy 1. Concealment. Concealment isn't just hiding, it's an art. Forget closets and underbeds. In the movies, 78% of people who tried that died in less than 2 minutes. The trick is elevated and unconventional locations. Treetops, slanted roofs, even submerged in deep waters, but obviously not in Crystal Lake. Estimated survival time, 5 to 10 minutes. Why? Jason has a supernatural sixth sense. He doesn't search, he knows. Strategy 2. Counter-tracking. Here is something few have tried. Using nature against Jason. Streams to mask your scent, false trails in multiple directions, and most importantly, never ever move in a straight line. Survivors in Part 6 used this technique for almost 20 minutes. Survival time, 10 to 20 minutes, if executed perfectly. But remember, Jason knows every inch of this territory. Strategy 3. Escaping Crystal Lake. Now, the strategy that promised to surprise you. Escape isn't about distance, it's about direction. Movie analysis shows Jason has a spiral movement pattern. The only survivors who lasted more than an hour discovered this and used it against him. Survival time, 15 minutes on average. But if you crack the correct pattern, you might gain a whole hour. Strategy 4. Traps. Traps need to be elaborate, not lethal. Jason doesn't die, but he can be delayed. Think Tommy Jarvis in Part 4. He didn't try to kill Jason, he tried to immobilize him. Nets, deep pits, collapsing structures, anything that can temporarily contain him. Additional survival time, 5 to 10 minutes per well-executed trap. Strategy 5. Direct confrontation. And here is the most controversial strategy, confrontation. No, you won't beat Jason in a fight. But T here is a pattern in the movies that few noticed. Jason hesitates, for microseconds, when he encounters someone who reminds him of his traumatic past.
You can stop now.
It's risky, almost suicidal, but it has worked. Survival time, 2 to 5 minutes, but they're the most important minutes of all. But before revealing how to combine these strategies to maximize your chances, you need to understand what comes next, because that's where everything changes. Now that you know all the strategies, it's time for the most uncomfortable truth of all. Something no other video about Jason has dared to say. In 12 movies, 157 people faced Jason Voorhees. Of those, only 23 survived the initial encounter. And here is the most disturbing fact. Only 7 people survived more than one encounter. Know why? Because Jason learns. Every strategy that works once fails on the second try. He's like a computer program that constantly updates itself. That hesitation I mentioned in Strategy 5, it only works once. The traps from Strategy 4, he's seen them all. But T here is something even more terrifying that very few fans noticed. Jason doesn't kill for revenge, like his mother. Doesn't kill for pleasure, like other killers. Jason kills out of duty. It's almost as if he's a twisted guardian of Crystal Lake, fulfilling an eternal mission. And that's exactly why he's unstoppable. You can't negotiate with duty, can't bribe a mission, can't make a deal with something that sees your existence as an offense to its purpose. But T here is a pattern, a single pattern that connects all true survivors. And that's where the revelation comes in that will change everything you thought you knew. Conclusion. After analyzing every strategy, every survivor, and every death at Crystal Lake, we've come to a disturbing revelation. The truth is that Jason Voorhees isn't just a killer, he's the personification of the inevitable. And here is the twist you didn't expect. All the strategies we discussed, they're just variations of the same fatal error. Believing T here is a way out, but the data doesn't lie. Throughout the franchise, T here is only one pattern among true survivors. They never really beat Jason, they just postponed the inevitable. And here is the final revelation that will change your perspective. The true horror of Jason isn't his superhuman strength, his immortality, or his brutality. It's the fact that he represents our greatest fragility, the illusion of control. Every person who tried to fight Jason believed they had found the solution. Each was convinced they would be different. Each thought, I can win. But here is the dark secret nobody wants to admit. Jason isn't just a killer in a hockey mask. He's the brutal reminder that no matter how smart, strong, or prepared we think we are, some forces of nature can't be beaten, only respected. If you've made it this far, you are probably smarter than 90% of Crystal Lake's victims, which means you have a slightly better chance of survival. But before you leave this video, T here is one question that will haunt you. Which of these strategies would you choose if you met Jason tonight? Leave your survival strategy in the comments. But remember, Jason might be reading too. And speaking of survival, our next video will reveal why Freddy Krueger might be even more lethal than Jason. Hit the bell to discover how to survive your nightmares. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, well, let's just say Jason has a special way of dealing with people who don't subscribe. See you in the next video. If you survive until then,